chapter 16. We're going to look at two passages pretty quickly that both tie in to this. If you're there, say yo. If you're not there, say no. Okay, we'll wait. Of course. Good, how are you? I got a haircut this week, you know that? It's free. You don't take that for me. Y'all there say yep? Okay, good. What's the first thing we want to look at? The context. Jesus is in the middle of his ministry, okay? The Pharisees, the Sadducees, the religious hierarchy, they're all pushing Jesus. They're all saying, hey, dude, if you are who you say you are, back it up, prove it. When I was in college, anytime anybody would say anything, whether it was like, I could lift 500 pounds, or I had a chocolate for dinner last night, we'd always say, prove it. And it drove everybody insane. I think only like 3 of us thought it was that funny, but they wanted proof, just like we always want proof. We want proof that people are mean what they say and they are who they are. And so they're demanding that Jesus prove who he is. And then we have the famous passage where Jesus says, hey Peter, who do people say that I am? Peter says, some people say you're John the Baptist. Other people think you're crazy. And then he says, well, who do you say that I am? And Peter says, you are the Christ, or the Messiah. And then right after that, we have Jesus foretelling of his death and resurrection. And then we pick up right here in verse 24. It says, then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever will save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? And so we see a direct calling from Jesus to be willing to give up anything that matters to us for his sake. Whether it's money, fame, popularity, sex, whatever you want to fill in the blank with, whatever goes in that blank for you, you have to be willing to give that up to do what Jesus is calling you to do here. The first step is to deny ourselves. Denying ourselves means remembering where we fit in God's will, remembering what God's will says, and just remembering our place in the grand scheme of everything. Okay? Because when we try to revolve the world around us, our perspective gets a little out of whack. So we have to deny ourselves and remember where we are supposed to fit in this thing. And remembering our sinful natures, our thoughts, and all that stuff, that we're nothing without him. That's the step one of denying ourselves. And then he says to take up your cross. Has anyone seen The Passion of the Christ, the movie? It is one of the most difficult, the most incredible movies I've ever watched. I've seen it once, and I probably will never see it again because it's that hard to watch. But there's a scene where Jesus is carrying his cross through the city. And for me, it was the first time I was really able to visualize what that meant. The picking up your cross daily. Because it's not like a cross that hangs above your couch, like a little wooden one. This is like a big old piece of wood that was stuck to his back. And as he was being whipped and lashed and spit at and cursed at, you name it, he's carrying this thing through the city. So like the image of carrying the cross is not an easy thing to do. Like this verse gets slapped on a lot of coffee mugs, but we don't really think about what it's really saying. Like picking up your cross and following him. It's a bigger thing than we make it out to be. It's really, really tough. And then following him is simple. Follow the example Christ set for us and follow what he said. Because we all like to have an example to follow, right? Any psychologists out there? Amateur psychologists? Okay, I see you. In psychology, there's this thing called the social learning theory. I learned this in like 12 of my classes today, I don't know why. But there's this thing called the social learning theory. This says that people learn best when they have an example to follow. So what they did this experiment. They took this little bobo doll. You know those things that are weighted at the bottom? You hit it, it bounces back up, you hit it, it bounces back up? You know what I'm talking about? They took one of those bobo dolls, and they took 2 groups of toddlers, okay? And they taught this one group, they said, all right, when you go up to the doll, you hit it, it comes back up, you hit it, it comes back up, you hit it, it comes back up. Very simple. And then with this other group, they took them, and the example that those kids saw was just these people just beating the life out of this little doll. Okay? And so their theory was, whenever they turn these kids loose, they will pattern what they saw. Make sense? You learn based off what you've seen. And so, sure enough, they turn these kids loose, And the ones who saw you, just gently playing with the doll, they would hit it, it would come back up, they would hit it, and come back up, having a great time. But then the other group of kids, that they saw the person just wailing on the thing, they turned them loose, and sure enough, they just go after this thing, like just swinging for their lives. And it just proves their theory that we learn best when we have an example to follow. That's how we learn. It's a social language. Claire Parents much from the cool today. And so, just like how you and I probably base our political beliefs, or just the way we do things, off what our parents have taught us, it's the same thing. We learn best when we have an example. And so lucky for us, in this whole Christian thing that we're trying to learn, we're trying to master,